my audience check.
Hi.
Throughout history, there have been many adaptations and interpretations of the story of King Henry VIII and his 6 wives. From movies to novels to even Broadway musicals, culture has shaped the way we perceive these women and their stories. The path of true history is laid with half-truths and misconceptions, and today I hope to give the true stories of King Henry VIII's 6 wives. To begin, let me introduce Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Catherine was born to the King and Queen of Spain. Originally married to Henry's older brother Arthur, she married Henry in 1509. After several miscarriages and early deaths, Catherine gave birth to their daughter Mary in 1516. The couple was married for 23 years, longer than any of his other wives. Henry regarded Catherine as an almost perfect wife and queen. Her only flaw was her inability to produce a male heir. This desperation for a male heir would consume Henry for the rest of his life. After many affairs with women in court and the looming need for an heir, Henry made the decision to leave Catherine for his mistress Anne Boleyn. The Catholic Church did not allow for divorce, so Henry made the decision to create his own church. This effectively changed the course of British history, as it separated England from the Church and established the Church of England. With the power of his newfound church, Henry sent Catherine to a nunnery and married Anne. Before her death in 1536, Catherine commissioned the controversial novel The Education of Christian Women, which she dedicated to her daughter Mary. Henry's next wife was Anne Boleyn. Anne moved from the French court in 1520 with the intention of wooing the king. Henry became smitten with Anne almost instantly and began an affair with her. After England separated from the church, Anne married Henry in 1533. Henry had high hopes that Anne would produce an heir. However, after many stillbirths and the birth of their daughter Elizabeth, Henry saw no hope that his wife would birth a son. A common misconception about Anne is that she was a known adulterer. However, this may have not been true. Anne's affairs were never confirmed. Mostly, it was an excuse for Henry to execute her so she could remarry. Additionally, she was accused of witchcraft because of her extra finger. Anne Boleyn was the first ever queen to be publicly executed. Henry's third wife was Jane Seymour, who was served as a lady-in-waiting to both Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon. Jane and Henry began a fling when he was still married to Anne. Jane refused to be one of Henry's mistresses, so the pair was married in a private ceremony only days after Anne's execution. The relationship moved quickly, and within weeks, Jane was with child. Finally, Henry gets the thing he's longed for since his marriage to Catherine, a son and heir. Jane falls ill with birth and days within weeks of her son Edgar's birth. The couple was married only 3 weeks after the annulment of his previous marriage. When Henry dies years later, he requests to be buried next to Jane. Henry's fourth wife was Anne of Cleves, a German aristocrat who he was married to strengthen ties with Europe. He married Anne 2 years after the death of Jane. Because Henry was only marrying to ensure good relations, he did not meet Anne before they were married, and only chose her because of her portrait. When Henry finally met Anne, he was furious that she looked nothing like her picture. The couple divorced after only 6 months of marriage, the shortest of any of Henry's marriages. Anne moved into a private estate with a generous settlement until her death in 1557. Henry's fifth wife was Catherine Howard. Catherine was a lady-in-waiting to Anne of Cleves for the little time they were married. The couple was married only 3 weeks after the annulment of his previous marriage. Catherine was known for having multiple relationships, and the whispers of affair quickly came to the king's ears. Henry had high standards for the wives, which he paralleled with his own affairs and actions. After an investigation into the alleged affairs, Catherine was sentenced to death, only 2 years after the couple was married. She spent several months in the Tower before her eventual beheading. Henry's sixth and final wife was Catherine Parr, a twice-widowed woman who was already 30 years old. Catherine was the first English queen to write and publish her own books. She was a caring wife as well as a loving stepmother who brought peace to the court. After Henry's death, she married her lover, Thomas Seymour. After delivering her daughter, she fell ill and died soon after. The 6 wives of King Henry VIII were complex creatures. I hope that this presentation gave you all into insight as who they were as people, and not just as wives. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.